Mark drove alone as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the deserted road. He had almost missed it as he was driving, but the shift in the shadows had been what caught the corner of his eye. An unfamiliar girl had emerged from between the rocks, and Mark immediately stopped his car. He immediately got out of his car to help the poor girl. When he reached her, instead of saying something to him, she shoved a crumpled note into his hand. As Mark read it, his eyes widened and his face turned pale. This couldn't be true. Mark had to take a step back from the girl, more so stumbling back a few steps. This couldn't be something random. Had this possibly been planned? Mark had no idea, but of one thing he was absolutely sure. Regardless of how he felt now, with the note sitting in his hands, he knew he couldn't just leave this young girl stranded in the middle of nowhere. He wanted to take her to the police station or another safe space, but something in his stomach knotted. How would that even look? An older man with a strange girl. He knew that he was overthinking it, but maybe the girl's parents were miraculously nearby. Before he took the girl to the police station, he knew he had to look for them himself. He had to get his mind off of what was on the note. He read it again, gulping as he did so, and pocketed the note. He had to analyze it more when he got home and brought the girl to safety. Even though he was a little uncomfortable at how much the note applied to him, he knew he had to help the little girl find her parents. "Hey," Mark said softly, as he went to her eye level. She looked at him, the expression on her face resembling feeling scared. "Where are your parents? Where are Mama and Papa?" Mark asked, hoping the girl was old enough to speak coherently. She couldn't be much older than 3 or 4 years old. The girl waited a moment to speak, probably thinking about the question. "Mama gone," the girl said, her voice soft, as she used her hands to wave them around. She started to shake her head before she spoke. "No, Papa," she continued, as she also shook her head. What could that even mean? Mark thought to himself. Based on her complete dismissal of her father, Mark focused on her mother instead. "Mama gone where?" Mark asked, trying to keep the words he used as easily as possible. The only way he could communicate was with words she understood. The girl looked like she was thinking again when she suddenly made strange movements with her hands. Maybe this was even too much to ask of her. Would she even be able to explain it to him? Did the girl even know where she was? "Mama get Liam," the girl said, and that answer only confused Mark more. Who even was Liam? If her mother had to get Liam, then why did she leave her daughter? They were all questions that Mark was eager to solve. "What is your name?" "I am Mark," Mark said, as he gave her a small smile. The girl grinned back as she pounded her fist on her chest. "I'm Mila," the girl said as she looked around again. Mark did as well, trying to see if he could see any light coming from anywhere. With the sun setting and the sky turning from crimson to purple hues, one would say it would be easy to spot light sources. However, regardless of it being easy, he didn't see any light sources. Maybe he needed a larger vantage point, Mark thought to himself. However, where could one even get that? Sure, he could stand on a large rock or maybe even atop his truck, but he feared that wouldn't give him enough height. Still, it might be worth a try. First, he decided to stand on the rock, but its height was rather underwhelming when he tried peering into the vast darkness. He sighed as he made his way toward his car, the girl practically trailing behind him, though clumsily. He opened his door and grabbed a flashlight before closing it again. Hopefully, this would help him with trying to locate someone, or someone locating him. He climbed carefully on his truck before he lit up his torch. It was one of those ridiculous survival flashlights that could be spotted miles away and light up a large distance. It was heavily advised against actually looking into the flashlight if you were close by. However, as he looked at his surroundings with the light, his heart sank. It seemed like there truly was no one around. He looked down at the girl standing next to his car, looking up at Mark with a toothy smile. He didn't know what was going on or what he could do in this situation. He needed help, so he decided the only people who could possibly do that were the police. While still standing atop his car, he grabbed his phone and dialed 911. He had to tell them he had found this young girl before even going to the station. In the meantime, they would be able to see if the location was in any way significant. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher who picked up answered. Mark looked at the girl before telling the dispatcher what had happened. Mark started to explain what had happened and explained where he was exactly. The dispatcher listened closely and made some notes while he spoke. Okay, Mr. Smith, please take the girl to the station closest to your location. She needs to be placed into our custody as fast as possible. I will send officers to your location for investigation. Paused for a second. Is there a way for you to put down a landmark for my officers to notice? And Mark nodded. Yeah, I might have something lying around in my truck. I will put it there and take the girl to the station. Mark answered as he got out of his truck. He quickly grabbed a bright green blanket and draped it over the large stone. That would surely draw attention. However, before he hung up the phone, he asked the dispatcher one final question. Before I am on my way, Mark paused, thinking of how to pose this question. Will you guys also help with the meaning of the note? He asked, a bit nervous as it tied her to the girl or her parents. Of course, sir, the dispatcher said. It is very strange that your address was on it if you do not know her. We will make sure to get to the bottom of it. Mark gently turned to Mila, his voice calm and reassuring. We're going to find your mommy, he said softly, watching her wide, curious eyes. I promise I'll help you, he added, trying to convey a sense of safety and comfort. Mila nodded, her small hand gripping his finger. Despite the growing darkness outside, Mark's determination to help this little girl shone clearly in his eyes. Back at his car, Mark realized he didn't have a child seat. Thinking quickly, he gathered blankets from the back seat, stacking them to create a makeshift booster. He then added a few thick books for extra height, making sure Mila was safely elevated. As he secured her with the seatbelt, he felt a new level of responsibility for the child's well-being. As the engine hummed to life, Mila began to chatter. Her words were a mix of toddler gibberish and endearing innocence, filling the car with a surprising warmth. Mark listened, smiling occasionally at her stories about imaginary friends and her favorite toys. Her cheerful babble was a stark contrast to the silent, solemn desert road ahead of them. Mila's questions were incessant and innocent. Why is the sky blue? What's that sound? She asked, pointing at passing objects with curiosity. Mark answered as best as he could, his heart heavy with the responsibility of caring for her. Each question reminded him of the gravity of their situation. Yet he felt comforted by her childlike wonder and resilience. As he drove, Mark reflected on the decision to help Mila. It was more than just a moral obligation. It felt like a personal duty. He thought about his own family, the love and protection he'd always sought to provide. Helping Mila felt like extending that same care to someone who desperately needed it. A small act in the face of an overwhelming world. The police station loomed ahead, its lights piercing the evening's darkness. As Mark parked the car, he felt a strange blend of relief and apprehension. He glanced at Mila, who looked back at him with trusting eyes. Stepping out of the car, he took a deep breath, preparing himself for the unknown challenges that lay inside the station. As they entered, the station buzzed with activity. The officers on duty noticed Mark and Mila immediately, their expressions shifting to concern. One of them approached with a kind smile, addressing Mila first to make her feel at ease. Mark could sense their professionalism mixed with genuine care, which slightly eased his nerves. Mila was gently led to a brightly colored room filled with toys and books. It was designed to be a comforting space for children. Mark watched her being escorted away, feeling a pang of worry, but knowing it was for the best. He then turned to face the officers, ready to explain the night's extraordinary events. Mark began recounting the story, starting from the moment he spotted Mila on the road. He described how he found her alone and scared, and his decision to bring her to safety. His voice was steady, but inside, he was anxious about how his actions might be perceived. As Mark spoke, he noticed the officers exchanging glances. Their concern was evident, and it seemed like they were piecing together a puzzle in their minds. Mark could sense a shift in the air, a growing suspicion towards his story, despite his honest intentions. He knew he had to be clear and precise to dispel any doubts about his role in Mila's situation. Mark sat in the stark, brightly lit interrogation room, his heart pounding in his chest. The detective's questions were detailed and relentless, probing every aspect of his encounter with Mila. As he answered, he could feel the weight of their suspicion growing, making the air in the room feel thick and heavy. The police were particularly interested in the note Mila had given him. As Mark explained how he had found it, the officers pointed out several inconsistencies in his story. They questioned the likelihood of Mila having a note that connected so directly to him, raising eyebrows and deepening the mystery surrounding the evening's events.
Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story.
Feeling the mounting tension, Mark reiterated his innocence. He explained, with a sense of urgency, that his only intention was to help Mila. "I just wanted to do the right thing," he stressed, hoping his sincerity would be evident and resonate with the detectives. The truth was his ally, but the situation seemed to be slipping out of his control. The atmosphere in the room grew more strained. Doubts and uncertainties hung in the air, almost tangible. Mark could sense the detective's skepticism growing. Every question seemed to imply doubt. Every answer led to more questions. The room felt smaller, the situation more pressing, as Mark struggled to maintain his composure. Despite the pressure, Mark stuck to his narrative. He knew his intentions were pure, and he hoped that truth would shine through the growing fog of suspicion. "I just found her, alone and scared," he repeated, his voice steady, but his hands betraying his nervousness. His commitment to the truth was unwavering, even in the face of daunting skepticism. Back at the spot where Mila was found, police officers meticulously combed the area. The team spread out, scrutinizing every inch of the rocky terrain under the stark beams of their flashlights. The search was thorough and systematic, with the officers determined to uncover any clue that might shed light on Mila's mysterious appearance on the road. Amongst the scattered rocks, one of the officers stumbled upon a backpack. It was partially hidden under a bush, its colors faded and worn. The backpack, small and seemingly forgotten, was filled with items that appeared to belong to a child. It was an unexpected find, adding another layer to the already complex mystery. Upon opening the backpack, the officers found it contained a mix of toddler items, a small water bottle, a half-eaten pack of crackers, and a few toys. Tucked alongside these were several papers, worn and indistinct, making identification difficult. The contents were intriguing yet cryptic, offering no clear answers but hinting at a deeper story. The backpack was carefully bagged and tagged as potential evidence. The officers weren't sure yet if it had any connection to Mila, but they knew it couldn't be ignored. Each item was a potential piece of the puzzle, and the backpack itself could be a key in understanding the circumstances of Mila's situation. The discovery of the backpack only served to deepen the mystery surrounding Mila. The officers were left with more questions than answers. Who did the backpack belong to? How did it end up here? And most importantly, was there a connection to Mila? The search continued, but the answers seemed as elusive as ever. In a quiet room at the station, Mila fidgeted with a small toy as she spoke with a child specialist. Her voice was soft and hesitant as she mentioned her last name, Ryler. The simplicity of her statement contrasted with the complexity of the situation, leaving the officers to ponder the significance of this new piece of information. During the conversation, Mila uttered a name that caught everyone's attention: Liam. Her mention of this name led to a flurry of activity among the officers. Who was Liam? Was he related to Mila? And could he provide clues to her family and their current situation? The mystery deepened, compelling the officers to delve further into the investigation. Interpreting Mila's words proved challenging. Her young age and limited vocabulary made it difficult for the officers to discern the full meaning behind her statements. Was Liam Ryler a family member, a friend, or something else? The task of deciphering her words became a pivotal part of piecing together Mila's story. With no immediate family to claim her and the mystery still unresolved, the decision was made to place Mila in temporary care. She was escorted to a child welfare facility, a place where she would be safe and cared for while the investigation continued. The officers watched her leave, each feeling a mix of responsibility and concern for the young girl. Back at the station, the investigation hit a wall. Despite their best efforts, the police found themselves at a standstill. The clues were scant, and Mila's limited information did little to clear the fog of uncertainty. The officers felt a growing frustration, each eager to unravel the mystery, but hindered by the lack of concrete leads. After his release, Mark, filled with a mix of frustration and determination, decided to start his own investigation. He couldn't shake off the feeling that there was something he was missing, something crucial that could lead to uncovering Mila's story and his unexpected involvement in it. Mark's first step was to delve into the history of his own home. He sifted through old records, contacted previous owners, and scoured the internet for any piece of information. He hoped to find some forgotten connection, a long-lost detail that might explain the mysterious note and Mila's appearance. As he dug deeper, Mark searched for any link between his residence, the puzzling note, and Mila. He revisited the note multiple times, analyzing every word, every mark on the paper, hoping to uncover a clue that would connect the dots in this perplexing puzzle. Despite his thorough investigation, Mark hit dead ends at every turn. There were no forgotten ties, no hidden stories linked to his home that could explain the current mystery. Yet, his determination didn't falter. He knew there was an answer out there, and he was committed to finding it, no matter how elusive it seemed. Mark's quest to unravel Mila's story became more than just a search for answers. It turned into a personal mission. He felt a deep responsibility towards Mila, a drive to ensure her safety and reunite her with her family. His resolve only strengthened with each setback, determined to bring light to the shadowy circumstances of her discovery. In a pivotal moment, the police stumbled upon a match for Mila in the database of missing persons reports. The revelation sent a wave of anticipation through the station as they realized they might finally be getting closer to uncovering the truth behind Mila's presence. The crucial breakthrough came when Mila was correctly identified as Mila Ryder, not Ryler, as initially thought. The correction opened new doors of investigation and brought clarity to the case. With her real identity established, The police could now focus on unraveling the mysteries surrounding her disappearance. As Mila's true identity emerged, so did the details about her family. The police learned about her missing mother and younger brother, Liam. This revelation added layers of complexity to the case, leaving investigators with the challenging task of piecing together the puzzle of their disappearance. The discovery of Mila's identity and her family's disappearance provided a significant lead in her case. Detectives worked tirelessly to connect the dots between the note, Mark's involvement, and the circumstances surrounding Mila's arrival at the station. Every thread they pulled brought them closer to the truth. With each piece of the puzzle falling into place, a renewed sense of hope filled the air at the police station. The breakthrough in identifying Mila Ryder offered a glimmer of optimism that they were on the right path to uncovering the full story. The investigation was far from over, but there was a newfound determination to bring closure to this mysterious case. With Mila's family still unaccounted for, the police expanded their search efforts. Every lead was diligently pursued as they scoured the area, hoping to reunite Mila with her loved ones and solve the mystery that had brought her to their doorstep. In a tense and emotional turn of events, Mila's mother was found in a critical but alive state. The discovery of her condition sent shockwaves through the station, and immediate medical attention was provided to ensure her survival. It was a race against time to reunite her with her daughter. As the search continued, there was a glimmer of relief when Liam, Mila's younger brother, was also discovered safe. His well-being added a ray of hope to the otherwise grim situation. Now, the pieces were falling into place for a long-awaited family reunion. With Mila's mother and brother found, the police and social services worked tirelessly to prepare for an emotional reunion. Plans were put in place to ensure a safe and heartwarming meeting between Mila and her family, who had endured unimaginable challenges. The discovery of Mila's family members brought a mixture of relief and sadness to the station. While there was hope for a reunion, the tragic circumstances that had kept them apart for so long weighed heavily on everyone's hearts. The journey from tragedy to hope was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. With Mila's mother now safe at the police station, she began to share the full story of the events leading up to Mila being found alone. Her testimony was eagerly awaited, as it promised to shed light on the mysterious circumstances that had brought Mila to the station in the first place. As Mila's mother began to speak, she explained the sequence of events that had transpired, including the origin of the note that had caused so much confusion. Her narrative started to unravel the mysteries surrounding Mila's situation. The mother's testimony helped clarify many of the misunderstandings that had clouded the case. The confusion and doubts that had lingered in the air were slowly dissipating as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. In a pivotal moment, Mila's mother revealed that the note's address had been misread, explaining that the 1 had been mistaken for a 7. This revelation was a turning point in the investigation, as it explained why Mila had ended up at the wrong location. With the mother's testimony, many of the lingering questions and suspicions were finally put to rest. The truth behind Mila's journey to the police station was now clear, and it marked a significant breakthrough in the case that had captivated everyone involved. Mark sat in stunned disbelief as he learned that the note's address had been misinterpreted. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks, and he couldn't help but wonder how such a simple mistake could have led to the entire sequence of events that had unfolded. It all came down to one digit. The 1 in his address had been mistaken for a 7, and that small error had changed the course of his life and Mila's in ways he could never have imagined. As Mark contemplated the random circumstances that had brought him into Mila's life, he couldn't help but marvel at fate's unpredictable twists and turns. A single misunderstood number, had set everything in motion. The simple mistake of misreading the address had triggered an entire series of events, from finding the note to his encounter with Mila. Mark was left in awe of how the smallest things could have the most significant impact. As Mark reflected on the entire experience, he gained a newfound perspective on life's unpredictability. The journey had been filled with surprises, challenges, and ultimately, a deep sense of closure as he realized the truth behind the note and its misunderstood address.